My name's Adam Center. I'm an alcoholic. I am a person in long-term recovery. I've been sober since December 1st, 2011. Started using when I was 13 years old. I started off with a Colt 45. I still remember that day. I was drinking beer in the woods with my friends. And what happened to me is I came in contact with a lot of negative consequences early in my using. So, I started getting arrested 13, 14, 15. And I progressed to marijuana. And I was in my first inpatient treatment center in 1995 at the age of 15. So that is what it looked like. I was raised with an identical twin brother. So we both used and fell in love with kind of the lifestyle, everything that goes with using, wanting to be part of, all the friends. And there was a lot of things that came with that, including being the bad guys, the bad boys, and you know, the image that kind of you want to portray as an adolescent, lacking identity. You know, we found it in drugs and alcohol. Interesting part of my story, my parents owned their own trucking business. So they had a way, they were bringing in money, and they kept it all in the house. So they had a safe in their bedroom. And me and my brother found the code. And I remember my brother would come to me and he would go and unlock the safe, and it was filled with $50 and $100 bills. So as an adolescent, we became the most popular twins in the neighborhood. All the older guys in the neighborhood, they were selling us marijuana, profiting from it, and we didn't care because it was free money, you know, to us. So that was kind of my adolescent, juvenile life. And, you know, by the time we turned 18, I still remember the day my parents brought us down. It was September 7th, 1998, and they said, you guys have 30 days to pack your things and get out of our house. So that was the transition from living with mom and dad, experiencing defiance and oppositional behavior, leading to adulthood and being on our own. And what I can tell you is it wasn't long before a prison door closed behind me and I was in the back of a cop car with my brother. And it got to be more and more and more intense, and our addictions progressed like everyone else that you talk to from that area that was, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old in the Philadelphia region. And it progressed to the Oxycontin, and that was really what I was strung out at first. And again, in the early 2000s, what that looked like was you would get it from whoever you could, and when they would run out, you would make phone calls and reach out. And it was before the corners, it was before the real heroin epidemic hit, or so I knew. But what that led to was to start going to detox centers. So again, the opiate, all us that fell into that opiate, the Oxycontin epidemic, end up in detox centers because you don't have the consistent flow, and you get introduced to heroin by all the older heroin addicts. And they took us and they showed us a lifestyle that I never knew existed. I got introduced to a criminal lifestyle that had to do with stealing, and it was called boosting where I'm from, and it was stealing products and taking them to stores and selling them, and it was a open market. And so in those days I started doing that, and that's how I started to get money. So that led me to a full-blown heroin addiction. And then I experienced a significant overdose. I watched my twin brother go out, and I called 911. He had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. And I thought he was dead. I pulled him out of the bathroom. He was blue. His lips were blue. I started giving him CPR, and it scared me. So the cops came, DFS came. I still remember it. And we both ended up in treatment. That was my first time earnestly seeking treatment. I was 26 years old. Yeah. So I went away for long term. I went away for 6 months. I was away for 6 months. My brother went to a treatment center for 6 months. I thought the 12 steps were funny. I thought it was a joke. I did enjoy the fellowship and the hanging out with peers I did enjoy that because we had a lot of similarities, with recovery and in the lifestyle. But as a 26-year-old, I wasn't ready to change yet. I did the best I could, and it led me back out. And this time, my last run was 5 years, and it went from sniffing to shooting. It went from non-diseased to diseased, so I caught Hep C. It went from blood infection. Like, I did everything that I said I would never do, all happened.
Yeah.
So when I came back to the table in 2011, I was ready to go. I mean, I had removed all barriers, and barriers being I had no more relationships, I had no more car, I didn't have a job. At that time, I had a 1-year-old. I lost custody of him. So, everything got removed from me, and recovery was the only way left. In early recovery, I went to a place that allowed me to sit still for 6 months. I was 31 years old, so it's quite different than 26. And they forced me to get a sponsor and go through the 12 steps. So no longer was I laughing about the spiritual approach. No longer was I laughing about the 12 steps. I was bought in because I didn't really have anywhere else to go, and I figured, let's give it a shot and see what happens. My twin brother at the time was about 6 months ahead of me, so I watched him get sober and then give back and come back, and I saw a change in his eyes. So I knew that something had happened to him, that it was tangible. He wasn't the same guy anymore. So I just followed his lead. And I went to a program. When I got out of the program, I went to a recovery house. It was a regular Oxford house. And I was sold. I was sold on recovery. My life got good really fast. So again, I went from a place of being homeless, walking around with bags, shoplifting, not having anything, to suddenly I'm driving around a car back in college with a clear vision of a future, with support networks, sponsees, and I mean that happened in 6 months for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So on June 16th, 2017, I met my wife. So I met this woman. It's the first girl I ever dated that was not in recovery. I met her on June 16th. August 16th, exactly 2 months later, my twin brother died of a heroin overdose. So suddenly, my brother, who got sober before me, and that was my identical twin, suddenly he was gone from my life. And here this woman just I met 2 months before she was there, and I fell head over heels as soon as we met. So, it was a spiritual, in a sense that my brother was gone, but here she is. And she is a woman that didn't think she could have kids. And I proposed to her 1 year later after we met, the same day. And a year and a half later, she was pregnant. So my life has changed so much. I told you I had a 1-year-old before I lost custody of my then 1-year-old. Now he's 15. Wow. So my recovery, I have been able to regain that custody, and now I have full custody of him.
Wow.
He lives with me.
Wow.
I have 2 other kids, a 2-year-old son named Graham and a 4-year-old daughter named Lucy. And all the while of all those social things happening in my life, I've been able to go back to school. I got a bachelor's degree in behavioral science and a master's degree in social work. So I've been able to maintain my sobriety while setting goals professionally and socially. And, I have everything I've ever wanted right now. So it's been magical. And losing my brother was the most challenging thing I've ever gone through. Obviously, I still dream about him probably about once a week. But I was able to get through that sober, and I can see the strength in that. I'm carrying his legacy. Recently, I work for an organization called Impact Life, and we're a peer-led organization, and I got hired as the clinical supervisor, and it's so awesome to give a guy like me that kind of responsibility, and I'm honored. And we've recently opened a recovery house in Delaware, in Wilmington, and we named it Curtis's House. So that was my twin brother's name, and it's just it means everything to me and my family. We were all able to attend, cut the ribbon, and so his story lives on, and it's a state, that recovery house is in the state. So if you look up Delaware recovery houses and go through the state, like it says Curtis's house. Yeah. So it's like forever, it's so cool. That is cool. Yeah, so I've been able to use his experience and yeah.
That's awesome.
So anyone that's coming into recovery and has a lot of questions and challenges, it's totally okay. We've all been where you are, and you can recover because everyone's the same. We all have the same challenges, and we all have the same opportunity to get better.
Adam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule here at the NAR conference in Dearborn, Ohio. We really appreciate you taking the time, and your story is going to help to spread awareness, humanize addiction and stigma, and inspire hope one story at a time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.